Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Grim the Lord of Salt here, and today we are playing. What's it called again? Legend of Demons Castle? Hold up. Yes, Legend of Demon Castle. Also known to us in the West as Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Of course, all of that's in Japanese, and I can't read Japanese, so we'll just go ahead and dive right in. So yeah, why play the Japanese version instead of the English? Well, for starters, it has a better sound track on it, better quality sound. Also because it's a little easier. It's still an extremely difficult game. There's less religious censorship, and Grant's a little better because he can actually throw his knives. But generally, yeah, it's a great sounding game, and obviously a callback to the original Castlevania. More so than Simon's Quest, which took more after Vampire Killer. As you know, at this point in the series, the franchise was the original Castlevania and Vampire Killer came out at the same time. A year after that, Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2 came out with the same kind of design, a little more along the lines of Vampire Killer. About a year after that was Haunted Castle. And then the year after that, this game and Castlevania The Adventure on Game Boy came out at the same time. So yeah, this game was obviously a callback more to the original than Simon's Quest, but they did expand on it considerably. There's a lot of new areas. In fact, you spend most of the time outside the castle, so that's definitely a twist. Also, the whip has a greater hitbox this time. Simon can hit slightly above him a little now, whereas in the original game you can only hit directly in front of him. And yeah, so we're in the village of Wallachia at this point, which I believe is, some translations say is considered to be Trevor's hometown. But you know, it's also of course the country where Vlad the Impaler is from originally. He wasn't from Transylvania; he was from Wallachia. And if you've watched the Netflix anime, you already know that. Now, if you're thinking about watching the anime instead of playing this game, I'd still recommend the game, especially, you know, if you're playing the franchise overall. The anime, you know, the first two seasons are good. The second two seasons, I think, it's the second or the third and fourth season, I should say, I think kind of killed the franchise for me and made me disinterested in anything else that they did. But, yeah, I mean, the game has aged, and it's also extremely difficult, so I can't really blame people for not wanting to try it. But on the bright side, you do have unlimited continues, so as long as you keep playing, eventually you will get through it. And of course, the Japanese version is a little more fair and balanced. The enemy variety is a little different, and as we'll see, not in this area but the next. Here, of course, we'll see some familiar faces. I am using these sub weapons in the hopes of getting a double and triple shot upgrades. There's the Medusa heads returning from the original. Destroying anything with a sub-weapon increases the chances of it dropping a double or triple shot upgrade, so I use it for candles. It's just kind of easy. But destroying monsters has the same effect. I also don't remember where all the food power-ups are, so you're improving your health, so I'm going to be swinging a bit wildly. There's a double shot. And that's how you get it, guys. A lot of guys play classic Castlevania and have no idea that that's even a thing. And the importance of double and triple shot is actually, if you have, of course, at any stage, don't pick up a sub-weapon you don't want or replaces it, as well as you lose your triple and double shots. But the reason to it is because you can throw multiple sub-weapons at once. And normally you can throw only one sub-weapon at a time, and you can't throw another until that one disappears from the screen. Here is one of the few. Now, this is one of the enemy replacements. These little devils here are, in the US version, or the Western version, are flea men. But originally they were little demons. And there's our first little bit of wall meat. And, yeah, so that's one of the differences. They're a lot slower than the flea men, upgraded hunchbacks, if you want to think of them that way. Now we got the triple shot, so we don't need to waste our sub-weapon anymore. Try and get the upgrades. If you get a triple shot, holy water, again, in pretty much any stage, the boss is going to usually be easy sauce. So yeah, that's generally what you want to aim for, just to make your life a little easier in this game. And like I said, a lot of people never even notice. Now, this particular section reminds me a lot of Haunted Castle, I'd swear. It's ripped straight out of there. Those bats are still tricky. but at least they give you those. This section right here, the stairs, it's a cemetery. You've got the stairs that go up to the raised section. You know, it's not a full bridge like it was originally. Watch out for that knife. Don't want the knife. But yeah, this reminds me a lot of Haunted Castle, which I haven't played on the channel yet. Oof, it's still a tough game, guys. Even though this is the easy version, it's still tough. And here's our first boss, the Skull Knight. But with the triple shot holy water, we should be able to make short work of him. As you can see, it does a ton of damage. And we got him. Even though we only had 1 hit of health left. I was just seeing if there was any wall meat, and there wasn't. But yeah, Skull Knight's a new boss. You don't see him in a lot of Castlevanias, unfortunately. There's only one other I can think of officially that he was in. There might have been more, but... And here we get a look at the map. As you can see, a lot of area outside the castle. That's mostly what we're looking at. And this I like to call the Bro Run. They do have branching paths here, which is a little more non-linear. You know, a little bit of that Simon's Quest non-linearity coming into it. We're going to go to the clock tower first. This area is optional. It looks like it's a shorter, route to the castle. Of course, appearances can be deceiving. This is Demon's Castle, after all. Yeah, but I call this the Bro Run. We're going to be getting the male side characters. Most people go with Sypha. You can get... Grant, of course, is optional. He's the first side character you can get. After that, you have to choose between Sypha or Alucard. You can only get one or the other. Or, of course, neither. And the choices you make do determine. Because we're doing the clock tower here, it's going to skip a section of the marshes that we've got coming next. So the clock tower is not too bad. It is one of the rougher areas, and when you're first playing, it's going to be the first one to trip you up a little bit. I made a mistake there and jumped too high, and I lost the ledge down there, so I can't get the item. I think it's Big Heart, but I can't remember if it's a Big Heart or a 1-up. But yeah, because I jumped, and there's nothing up over there. The stairs are still dangerous. You do get knocked back when you get hit, so you have to be careful. You won't get knocked off the stairs, but... it's harder to hit from the stairs, of course, because you're moving around. So yeah, very difficult game. And and again, with the Japanese version, what happens with the US version or the Western version is they upscale the damage that enemies inflict as the game progresses. So every now and then they just start doing more damage. The Japanese version doesn't do that. It keeps the damage standard across the board, which it's already an extremely difficult game, so they really did need a jack. Whoever was in charge of Konami's importing back in the day was the devil. The real devil wasn't in the castle. It was whoever was releasing the Western imports of the game. And here's our first time riding pendulums in the clock tower. Will become a regular feature pretty much after this. So yeah, it did a lot of firsts here for the franchise. First time Clock Tower was its own full-fledged, and this time Clock Tower's actually got moving gears in it and stuff. It does cause a bit of slowdown sometimes with the frame rate. With these big rotating gears, you want to make sure you're on the teeth. That's what Simon kind of connects to. Otherwise, he'll slide around a bit, and he might fall off. As usual, fall off a die. But just because these gears are spinning doesn't mean they actually spin Trevor. The physics aren't that advanced yet in these games. So. Yeah, here's the Medusa heads back to give us all the trouble they can manage, and as usual, even though it seems I'm doing okay right now, the Medusas are, I don't know why, I've just always had a lot of trouble adapting to them and getting that timing down. Other people manage to make it look so easy. There's some you can't see it, might not be able to see it because of I have to see why that happens when you've got old game footage. Sometimes like certain frames are lost and things become invisible, but yeah, I got knocked back on that thing. Luckily I didn't fall off, and the Medusas are causing me no end of frustration, coming in at just the wrong angle and timing. Looked out there. We're through another section here. Of course, every door is a checkpoint. You do have limited lives. In the Japanese version, you only get 2 lives. You can score extra ones if you manage to avoid getting killed a lot, which of course I don't do. I am a scrub, so I will lose frequently. And there's a double shot to make us a little happier. And an axe, which actually is a little better for this boss. So I probably should have gone with the axe, but I didn't want to give up my double shot. You know, that was a choice I made. Most of my deaths will be on here. This commentary is not live, so don't have to worry about a ton of cursing. Basically, I recorded this stuff at night when I was having trouble sleeping for whatever reasons. And, you know, there's only so much I can do without getting the dog worked up, getting myself in trouble with the neighbors, so I tried to keep it quiet and just play this game and record it as I did, so yeah, some of that's gonna be there. Which I think is better for some of these tougher games anyway. There's less salt, which I know is kind of the point. There you can see me using the hitbox of the whip that's on Trevor there to hit that candle. It was a little tricky, but I did it. But it generally breaks down to a lot of swearing and me making mistakes just because I'm trying to talk over while I'm playing. And I finally looked out, and of course there's a Medusa head waiting to get its hit in. They are generally easier to avoid than to hit, so that's probably the best advice I can give about dealing with Medusa heads. Try to avoid them, try to get the timing down, and do the best you can. As long as you're free to move, you're not stuck on the stairs, you can usually avoid them. And be careful of that one for obvious reasons, and try not to get knocked back too far like I was a couple of times there. And yeah, they finally got me, the little buggers. Here's my first game over. You do have unlimited continues, so I did skip ahead a little bit here. But you only got the 2 lives, and that's it. There's no help me code, no codes for the Japanese version in general. So when you're playing the US version, when you pick your screen name at the start of the game, there's certain names you can pick that will give you advantages, like putting help me in will give you extra lives. And you also have codes that let you start off with different characters or start off on game B, which is, of course, when you finish the game, it starts all over in a harder remix, and that is game B. So game B on the Western release is one of the hardest Castlevania games, one of the hardest video games ever made. So yeah, I do have the long-term goal of someday being able to accomplish that, to beat that mode. It'll probably be in a stream. I was originally going to play the US version as well and record that and do a cipher run with that, but by the time I was finished, I was finished with this game, guys. It's a long game, it's a hard game, so the idea of going through it all over again after beating it just it's not at that point where I could just kind of sit down and beat it in an afternoon for fun, you know. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet, so until I get there, I'm probably not going to be churning out a ton of content specifically on this game. But I do have a second chance at getting this secret over here. So I missed it out on the first time because I jumped too far. And there it is, a big heart. Is it worth it? Probably not. But hey, every little bit helps. I forget what the initial rule is on how many hearts you get before you get your weapon upgrades. I think that's how it's gauged. Like you have to have 5 hearts to get the first upgrade. I think it's 10 or 15 to get the second. I'm not sure. We got the holy water there. I'm going to try to hang on to that. And we'll try to get that double and triple shot as well. So yeah, a lot of familiar enemies, a lot of familiar sights here so far in this game if you played through the first. I still really like the first Castlevania. It is a tough game as well. Definitely a good intro. Definitely play that one before this. Don't go chronologically, guys, if you're playing the old trilogy. Play Castlevania first, and then play this game. And do start with the Japanese versions for both, because it's much, much easier. And that'll gradually increase your difficulty and get you up to a point where you can beat these games more reliably. And I look forward to the point where I can beat this game more reliably. You do a little dancing. You know, you got to pass the time, doing the same stuff over and over again. I might split this video up into a few episodes. It's only about an hour and a half-ish long, I want to say. So I might just upload it as all as one video, like I did with the original Castlevania. So we'll see. The Clock Tower will give me many a hard time in the future of this franchise, the future titles. We still haven't gotten Vampire Killer, by the way. We've gotten a couple more sets since this one came out. And they actually remade Haunted Castle, the same crew that did Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth, which we also haven't gotten a re-release of. It was a Wii exclusive back in the day. I do have it on emulation, so... I do plan on playing that on the channel, along with the remake of Haunted Castle. It's a little funny that they would remake Haunted Castle instead of this game in particular. I'd love to see a remake of this game. There's one fan remake that's actually been finished. There's a few other that are cooking in the oven. Castlevania 3 Chronicles 3, Dracula's Curse, was a fan-made one, and I did try it. Not the biggest fan of it though. At least right off the bat, some of the enemies take a lot of hits right off the bat. So it's got that kind of more of an Igavania feel to it, you know, a more modern Castlevania where a lot of the enemies are buffed and they don't go down easily. And you know, when it takes 3 hits to kill a skeleton is kind of when I check out of something. You know, that's a little goofy there. Skeletons are supposed to go down in 1 hit. That's why they're skeletons. They're just bones. So that part of it, and the physics are a little weird because again they based it off of clearly the Order of Ecclesia in this case. I don't know why they wouldn't use. It's advertised as something that's based on like Castlevania Chronicles and Rondo of Blood, but it is not. It is not run on those engines. It's run on the engines used for the Game Boy Advance and DS Castlevanias, because it's got floaty jumps and the somewhat stiff whipping action, which is you know, these older classic titles had really fast whipping, you know, so it was important when you're timing your attacks with these enemies that your attack be, and I'm slipping again, that your attack hit right exactly when you need it to, and for that to be delayed like it is with the Castlevania Chronicles 3, I'm not a big fan of it. Again, I appreciate all the work that the fans, that the guys that made the game put into it. It was clearly a love, you know, an effort of love or whatever, but it's just not my cup of tea. It's the same with the Street Fighter 1 remake that fans made with Mugen. They kind of ruined it because they fanned it too hard. You know, it was they nerfed damage to an extreme point so that they could put a combo system in, but they wanted the combo system to be mandatory, you know, to master your combos to be able to be any good. So they jacked up the difficulty and they nerfed the damage to force players to play the way they wanted it to be played, rather than just making Street Fighter a cleaner, easier game. And there's another continue. So we'll pick up where we left off again. Clock Tower's tough, guys. Even though I've played through this so many times, it's still the kind of thing that's going to take some time for you to get used to and to adjust to. I honestly didn't remember getting stuck here so much that I probably would have skipped some of this. But you guys know how it is. You got to show the struggle. You know, that's part of the adventure of Castlevania. I don't plan on playing the Game Boy titles again. I think I beat both of them previously, but I beat them on streams. The streams are long gone. But I will play Adventure Rebirth. And of course, the remake of Haunted Castle. I might play the original Haunted Castle a bit, but I'll probably save that for a stream down the road, rather than trying to do it right now, because it's an insanely difficult game, so I'm just not in a hurry to subject myself to that. And if I do it, I want to do it in an environment where I'm not editing stuff and it's going straight up, you know. I don't know if or when I'll start streaming again. I need to get to a steady schedule, which I should. I do have, I start work this week, so I will be back to a steady schedule. Things will be back to normal, and with that, I can come up with a streaming schedule. So, you know, when I'm not just making content for fun. We'll see, guys. We'll see. I found some old footage of my streams that I did, or the videos I made of Super Castlevania 4. I wasn't going to play through it again because it's also a very tough game. And it's yet another remake of the original. So I just didn't want to subject myself to it again. But since I have the footage, I just went ahead and played. I was only missing the beginning chunk. So I said, alright, the first 3 stages. So I was like, let's play through the first 3 stages. And so I'll make videos of that and upload it as well. That'll be the next project, actually. I'll do the 16-bit games is what I'll do. The Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis ones. And we'll work our way back up to Chronicles and the Dracula X Chronicles. Like the Chronicles games I'm going to play on their own. And, because they're great games. And, you know, we'll go from there. Yeah, the adventure games, those will probably be next after I do the 16-bit ones, actually. We'll do the adventure games, then I'll go back and do the Chronicles, and then we'll work our way up from there to the other sets that were released. You know, we still got, and I'll probably do a whatchamacallit, Kid Dracula playthrough as well, because that was, you know, a young Alucard, and it's kind of relevant to Symphony, so I'll upload some footage of that as well, a playthrough. And that's the gist of the plans. To play through the 2 trilogies, the Game Boy Advance trilogy, the DS trilogy as they're in the collections. And that'll probably wrap it up. Maybe down the road, maybe do a run-through of Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness. I've never finished either of those games. I had them both on PlayStation 2 back in the day. They were tough, grindy games. I wasn't a huge fan of either of them. Gameplay was decent, but it was just... it was that wall you hit, you know, and the first game, Lament of Innocence, also had the issue of the levels just weren't that fun to play. It had a tendency to lock you in rooms, fighting the same waves of enemies over and over again, and, you know, trying to imitate Devil May Cry, which was a good idea, except that they kind of emulated all the worst parts of Devil May Cry, instead of trying to come up with good stuff of their own, and, yeah. So, the stories aren't bad. If you look up the cutscenes, they're fun to watch, but, and, the other game, Curse of Darkness, which is actually a sequel to this one, by the way. Again, good story, but and the gameplay was great in that. Like, they ditched the grid level design and all the grindy multiple waves of enemies you had to fight through. But it still had the same. Both games had the same thing, which was that XP grind wall. Once you got to a point, you just couldn't progress further without grinding an obscene amount to level up. So here's our next boss, the large hunchback, which is actually Grant in his monster form, and he'll be doing what he can do as an ally once we get him. So yes, there are other playable characters in this game, and this boss is pretty easy if you don't fight like a goof like I did, and he still made it pretty easy on me, like the game felt bad for me. So this giant mutated hunchback creature, of course, is going to transform. This isn't even his final form. 20 minutes in and we finally did that. Now, of course, this is Japanese, so I don't speak Japanese, so I can't translate it for you guys, but I do know if you pick the first option, they will join you. So yes, you recruit characters. There's other playable characters in this one, not just the Belmont. But you can only have one other playable character at a time with Trevor, and you have to switch between them manually with the select button. And of course, getting Grant, the bridge collapses, so what we thought was a shortcut to the castle is, of course, a dead end, and we have to go back and go through the marsh boat. We have to go back down through the clock tower, but now we can play as Grant Dynasty, who is based on the Dynasty clan, who rivaled the Draculesti clan, so a rival family of Vlad the Impaler in Wallachia. They were the original, you could say, rightful rulers of Wallachia, and that is indeed Grant's bio. He is the last of his kin who was deposed by Dracula when he took over the countryside of Wallachia. So, yeah, that actually makes Grant a very interesting character, and unfortunately a lot of people don't recognize that. They don't do the research. It's a little easier going down than it was going up. Grant does take more damage than Trevor. He's not as sturdy. But as you can see, he's got a much better jump. He can control his jump in air. If you're playing Japanese version, you can throw daggers, an unlimited number. That's just his default attack. If you're playing the Western release, he only jabs with the dagger. It's a very short range attack, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. So you definitely, again, an advantage to playing the Japanese version. Of course, Grant being able to cling to walls and jump better can get around much easier than Trevor Belmont can. He was called an acrobat in the original Japanese version, so even though he's kind of depicted as like a thief or a bandit, the original idea was acrobat. You can access new areas like the one-up that we got there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, his real story is a lot more interesting, and unfortunately it's something that the animated series completely overlooked because the guy writing it, who has no idea what he's talking about, thought Grant was a waste of time because nobody likes playing as him. Didn't bother to look at who he was or why he was there. So that whole extra story about the Dynasty clan being wiped out by Dracula and their lands claimed by him, and Grant being the last of them is completely lost, which sucks. It would have been a great story to get. But, you know, that's what happens when you let fake gamer guys put them in charge of your franchise, you know? He also wound up getting fired from the job because it turned out he's a sexual predator, so... top league scumbag. Was his name Warren Ellis? Was that him, or was that a different guy? I'm not so sure, but... yeah, he didn't get to work on Nocturne, which was their sequel series, loosely based, very, very loosely based on Rondo of Blood. So, yeah. So Grant was our first example of having like proper jumping physics in a Castlevania game. Before then, we never had so much control, and he does make it a lot easier. Grant's he's almost like a cheat code, you know, his ability to stick to walls and his jumping arc. But again, the downside is he does less damage, and he takes more damage. So he's just generally a weaker character. All characters can get the clock sub-weapon, but Grant can only get otherwise the axe sub-weapon. He can't use holy water, he can't use the cross. And just making it to the bottom is how you finish that area, so there's no extra bosses or anything. Much easier going down than it was coming up. And so now there's no choice. We're going to the marshes, but we are skipping the first area of the marshes. If you didn't go to the clock tower, you were still just playing as Trevor, there's another area in front of this. And that pausing is me doing a game save, as well as capturing the footage. These owls are going to give me some trouble because I lost my axe. But Grant can almost outrun them. And we got a new axe, which is too little too late. I tried to jump and take that one out for some reason, so as a penalty, I'm back at the beginning, and we'll just go back to Trevor, because Trevor's your fighting guy, you know? You need that extra damage from the whip and the tankiness that he can take the extra hits, so... the owls are tough when you don't have a good sub-weapon. That one was just within our reach. That one's outside of our reach, so we got lucky with the cross there. The good thing about the cross is it goes the full length of the screen, so if you're walking forward after you throw it, it goes even further. So, something to keep in mind with the cross. It's my favorite sub-weapon of this series, so... that was me trying to use the cross after losing it. And luckily, that owl missed us, so... owls, I think, were first introduced in Simon's Quest, if I'm not mistaken, rather than here. And of course, I'm using it to try and get the double, triple shots, because, yeah. It doesn't stagger enemies like the holy water does, but it does get in a lot of extra hits. More of these little devils here. Our first bloody skeleton, which if you're familiar with Castlevania, bloody skeletons regenerate. They never really go away, so we're just going to ignore that candle and go on up. I do love the effects in this area. The storm brewing in the distance is just a really nice effect. Primitive, of course. It's an NES game, but it is still pretty cool. Then yeah, there's that lightning's pretty wild. The bone towers there, as you saw, they shoot out 3 fireballs instead of 2 like they did in the first game. Important thing to notice. Here's some wall meat in case you're having trouble. Is the second you turn right, it triggers that animation. You can't get out. And now we've got another choice. This is an important choice. You could take the upper road, which goes to another cemetery where there's some statues, or you take the long way, which goes to a cave. So the upper way, of course, would have led to Sypha. A lot of people like Sypha because she is a glass cannon. She's a mage. She can use spells. She's got fire, ice, and lightning spells. Each one more useful than the last. But they're all very powerful. But she's a glass cannon. She takes extra hits, and her normal physical attack, which does do a hit stun, so it's not terrible. Those toads, giant toads, can be a pain in the neck. They're also from Simon's Quest. But her default attack doesn't do a lot of damage, but does hit stun. So it is actually not bad, but you do have to get right up, and that dang bastard hit us. I hate these toads. They just keep coming. The cave is more difficult the long way. The other way is easier with Sypha. You get to ride the pirate ship, which is a cool area, and you get to fight Medusa there, returning Castlevania 1 villain. And there's also of course, to get Sypha, you have to beat the Cyclops, who we're skipping entirely here. But we'll get to fight one later. We saw an axe, and of course Grant can get the axes, so we'll let him have this. Grant's weapon doesn't upgrade, so... neither does Sypha's. Now, Sypha is, of course, disguised as a man in this game. The original English translation listed her as a man, and if you look at the profile picture for her, it looks like a dude with a beard, like a Merlin type. So it's clear the implication is that we're supposed to think Sypha's a man and then be surprised in Sypha's ending when she takes her hood off and she's got the long hair, and it's obviously a woman snuggling up with Trevor. And of course, Sypha would hook up with Trevor and become the mother of future generations of Belmonts, including Simon. Sorry. So that's the canon ending, and that was why I wanted to do a Sypha run with the US version, so you guys could see the English translations of the story as well as the canon ending. There was, of course, 4 endings to this game. Earned an extra life there. Each character has an ending, plus there's an extra ending for beating it with nobody, and if it's just Trevor, so going solo. So a lot of replayability here. You had different playable characters, different paths. You had Game B, and you had multiple endings. There's a lot going on in this game, guys. It's a big game with lots of areas, lots of bosses, and just insanely difficult is the only downside. I would honestly say it's too difficult in general. Even the Japanese version, which is a whole lot easier than the English version, it's still just, I think it crosses that line up to where it's just not fun. The original Castlevania was challenging, but it felt a little more fair because it wasn't that hard. Like, you could adjust it. It took time, practice, but it still didn't take too long. It was this game, though, is the one that will take you years to get good at. You can eventually get good at it. Here's a new sub-boss enemy. I hate the giant bats in this game. They're way worse than they were in the original. So we'll use our triple-shotted cross here as best we can. I mean, as you see, they split into smaller bats, and they take a few hits. There's really no easy way. Absolute chaos breaks out. I've just never been good at fighting these bat bosses, and there's multiple ones of them in the game. So yeah, we're at it again. This is one of my least favorite areas of the game because it is one that I end up playing so much because I always get stuck here, at least for a little while. And the ghosts always take a couple hits. The nature of the beast, guys. Very difficult game, a little too difficult, but it's doable. Again, the unlimited continues mean as long as you keep playing, you'll eventually get good enough to do it. You might have to take a break from time to time, but I would say if you're playing this game is, don't take a huge break between sessions, because you're going to get rusty, and it's going to be that much harder if you're rusty, guys. Believe me, I can say from experience. You don't have to beat it in one sitting, but take like a day or two off and come back to it. If you're going to take a week off, you might as well just forget about him. Move on for now. And of course, we've only got the double shot this time instead of the triple, and yeah, it's already going very badly for me. These bosses drive me nuts. These bats. We should get by him soon, guys. Don't worry. And those whipped zombies are actually supposed to be dead Belmonts. So yeah. Why does Belmont have a whip? Well, it's because he's inspired by Indiana Jones, guys. What would happen if Indiana Jones fought all the classic horror movie monsters? It's basically what Castlevania is based on, Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Eventually, Wolfman got in on it. Actually, there were werewolves in Simon's Quest. I don't think there's any in this one, though, which always seemed like a weird omission for some of the classic games. But werewolves would become standard enemies, and of course, this damn bat got me sandwiched with both bats. It was a pincer move, man. They got me. They got me. And I basically got no chance against this boss. So we'll give it a shot, as we do. Yep. And there it goes. I really wish... I don't have any simple strategies for beating that thing, guys. It always gets the better of me, I can say. And the ghost, too. I just hate that they take 2 shots each. They seem like they should be one-shot enemies. And they're not even fast, but they're persistent. You know, they lock on to you and you get stuck. Oh, some wall meat would be nice as well. Managed to get that ghost finally. Of course, we're ignoring the stopwatch because we don't want to get that. Yeah, these slime men, I think this was the first game with them. They might have been in Simon's Quest. It's hard to... I still haven't beaten Simon's Quest. I do plan on playing it. As I mentioned before, I plan on playing through Vampire Killer first, and then we'll do Simon's Quest with that, because I think those 2 games just go better together. Then, because, you know, Simon's Quest is considered, because it's non-linear, to be the black sheep of the family. And, of course, you got lots of people calling it a Metroidvania. Still a term I refuse to use because it's just not accurate. It's not a Metroid clone, guys. That's where it comes from. So we did it finally. 3rd tries the charm, right? Was that 3rd or 4th? I lost track there. I die a lot in these games, guys. I'm not gonna lie. And now we are going deeper to the cave. This is where things really get interesting. And we've got these bloody eyeballs up here. I think this is the first game to feature them. They'd be in a few after that. They definitely returned in Super Castlevania 4. And this section of the cave, the inside, is going to be a lot easier with Grant because of his ability to stick to things and his better jump. All of which are useful. And here we're introduced to the... what I can only assume is acid dripping from the ceiling because it dissolves the blocks and damages you. Grant's a huge help in dealing with those. Here we got some mummy enemies spawning in, but we don't even care. We climbed right over them. And even though I'm not a fan of the stopwatch, we'll go ahead and use it because it's there. And you can see how it takes extra hits for him to take out even that fireman, who looks like he's from the original Ninja Turtles video game, right? Where they copy an Ultra there. And we'll head back down here with another fireman. We have to wait for his flames to go out. There's no way to stop him. And the mummies can do whatever they like. They can't affect us up there. Definitely a place where the big jumps help out. We've got some more melting blocks here. I do not like the melting blocks of this stage. Although they're not as bad now, but the further you get in, the worse they get. And there's falling blocks as well, which are also shitty. Here's the slimes. They're also, I believe, from Simon's Quest. And they are a pain in the neck because they're small and they are surprisingly quick. And they can have some crazy jump arcs. Well, there we managed to defeat that one. Now this area is a little tricky, of course, because you got to worry about touching the spikes. One touch to a spike, even from the side, is going to kill you. So I'm just checking to make sure that there's nothing up there, which there wasn't. So and here we got another melty block segment. You could wait. The bottom route's probably easier if you wait, but we ain't got time for that. We're Grant. We're gonna run on through here. Acrobat away! We got a fireman to worry about. And more of these platforms. Which again, we got Grant, so no worries. We had to take damage to get those points. But I try to get all the points just in case I get an extra one up. You know? Extra lives are helpful. This area can be a little tricky. Again, a little easier with Grant, but you have to be careful because you're at the top there. You're not going to be able to jump over. It's all about being careful and not landing on a spike. There we go. Now these ones have platforms on top of them, so you can't jump on top of them. Not a big deal. Just a heart. Wasn't even worth checking. I do wish I had some more of this memorized. Because a lot of these wind up being a waste of time. And again, very easy to avoid those things as Grant. Grant's definitely an easy way to play through the game. You can skip a lot. This section right here, you skip this little bit right here because we're Grant. climbing walls like Spider-Man. Another bloody eyeball who's just out of reach. And we've actually got a boss fight right here, guys. So let's go ahead and switch up. We've got and the bloody eye goes away with this. And we've got a casket here, the tomb. And look at this, some bats coming out, and holy moly, it's Dracula. Now they do have fan patches that give you translations of the game. So if you want to play with, you know, being able to read the audio, you can. And I'm mentioning this here because, again, this looks like Dracula and it fights like Dracula, but it isn't. Of course, we'll find out. This is Alucard, Dracula's son, who is another potential ally after we defeat him. And it's also a callback, of course, to the final boss fight with Dracula in the original game. Very cool throwback. But I'm bringing up the fan patch because they translated it, but they also added a thing where they replaced Alucard's sprite so that it resembles his Symphony of the Night design more. Not a fan of that. I prefer to keep the original artwork. So, while I would have preferred to play this with, you know, English dialogue in it so you guys can see what the characters are saying, and especially in the ending, I am going to stick with the regular version because I don't want a different sprite. I want the original. I want him to look like Dracula. So he does play like a little Dracula. He can take the extra hits like Trevor can, so he takes less damage. And he has an upgraded weapon. He actually has a ranged weapon. He does something similar to the Hellfire attack. He shoots energy balls from his cape, and he can upgrade them to 2 and even 3. And they spread out. You know, they do the shotgun blasting. Each ball does do less damage. I think it might be the weakest weapon next to Sypha's wand. Here we've got another choice. Well, we got to finish the cave first, and then we've got a choice. And, yeah. So, you can upgrade it to get the full spread. If you hit enemies with all 3 blasts, it's actually pretty good. But the main reason to bring Alucard is because he can transform when you press down and jump. Or down and attack. Well, jumping or down and jump, I forget which. But you can transform into a bat, which is extremely useful for some of the areas. Obviously, being able to fly around. And there you see it. We're about blah. Of course, it is a weak attack, so we're going to switch back to Trevor here. And I got 2 of these eyeballs, plus these mummies. If you're quick enough, you can get by the mummies, no big deal. Because if you get stuck there, those mummies will just keep respawning. I think there might be a wall need in there, but again, respawning mummies, not fun to deal with. And here we picked up I think that's a triple shot, or is that a double? I think it's a triple. Yeah, the double's red. And now we get the choice. You can take the upper path, which basically just continues you through more caves, or you can take the lower path, which goes through the sunken city. First time I decided to go the upper path. I thought it was easier. I was hoping to avoid an area down the road, but I didn't. So yeah, this is just more caves. It's a very short area, but it is very tough. So whether or not you want to deal with it is up to you. Since I lost my lives, I went back here. I decided next time I'd take the other route and do the sunken city, which is it's a longer stage and it has a different boss, but the boss is a little I wouldn't say he's easier. It's a harder boss, but I can't remember if you no. You know, I don't remember the orders now, but I think if you go the upper path, you end up in the like the aquatic area. And I tried to cheat with the bat there and ended up eating it from the eyeball. It's been a rough trip for us up there, guys. But we got an upgrade for Alucard. So he's fully upgraded. We're good there. Alucard only gets the stopwatch sub-weapon's the only one he can use. So Sypha has the spells, which does the extra damage. Alucard has the weapon upgrades. And Grant can stick to things. And, of course, has better jumps. Alucard has the bat form. You know, you guys get the gist of it now. 3 allies, 3 different playstyles. And of course, Trevor's always there. And there's no way I was getting that hard. Maybe if I was Grant and stuck to the bottom. But we gave up Grant. And so here again, we faced the same choice. And like I said, I was thinking of a section down the road that I wanted to skip, so I took the lower path. It's a longer path, but it does skip part of the next area that would have had a much more difficult boss. So I'm skipping that more difficult boss against the 2 water dragons. Very cool song here. A good soundtrack for this game. Not a lot of throwbacks, of course, to the original game, although Vampire Killer's there. We haven't heard it yet, but it'll... Actually, unfortunately, the level with Vampire Killer is one that didn't make it into the footage, so I'll tell you guys when we're there. I was hoping using Alucard I could cheat here, but you can't. Even though Grant could have done that, Alucard can't. So we get to skip the whole section down here and save me a little bit of grief. Although it's not a hard section, this of course resembles the underground area, the tunnels after the entrance in the original game. An area that would get remade frequently, where you're also pursued by mermen. And again, another save state here because I'm already getting tired of this area. There's a breakable wall there. And sword enemies are the toughest because they got armor. So, you know, sword skeletons, I should say. Oof. Bugger got me. And we'll focus mostly on Trevor. Alucard's better for special uses. You know, getting through the whole game with him is definitely difficult. It's not undoable, but it's tricky. And it is just easier with Trevor because he just does the best damage, and you're kind of used to using him at this point anyway because he controls the same as Simon did. You know, so if you beat the original, you're already kind of in that tempo. But yeah. Feels nostalgic going through some of these areas. Now this city does, it sinks after we get through it. So it seems to be a callback to Atlantis. Obviously Atlantis wasn't around in the 1400th century, you know, but that's a fun inspiration for a gameplay mechanic. And we do have this bone dragon to get through. He is going to give us some trouble. Luckily, if you're on the platform, if you get knocked back by a hit, you'll just land on the lower platform. And just kind of duck and whip away and hope you don't fall through. Of course, you can stay on the stairs as well, then you won't get knocked back, but you can't move either to avoid. If you're a better player than me, you can probably dodge those fireballs. I was trying to destroy them before they hit me, which I didn't do. Okay, cross is a better sub-weapon for me, so I'm going to go with that. Damn bats always seem to come in at just the right angle to screw me up. So far, so good, though, guys. So far, so good. So, yeah, a lot more outdoor areas we're seeing here. We've been in caves, now we're exploring the aquatic ruins of an ancient civilization. And I was hoping I'd be able to get right by that bone dragon. I couldn't. I could not. And now I'm back to using the flimsy whip. And tried to destroy that fireball, wound up eating it instead. Got lucky with that combo, lined it up just right, and of course, like an idiot, I jumped thinking I'd make the platform, and I didn't. Welcome to the many deaths of Castlevania, guys. This is what playing these games means. Frustration, agony, tears, and mostly lots and lots of salt. They definitely didn't need to make this game harder, but they did for the Westerner at least, because somebody's a sadist. Somebody was upset that we didn't get the second Super Mario Brothers game, and we got a fake one instead because the other one was too hard. So they decided to make all Konami's games harder. I tell you. Still fun to play, and I look forward to getting good enough at this game that it does come more naturally, and I don't have to rely on save states. You know, I did have to save Scum and Ultimately to beat this game. Always do, because it's just... Final area in particular is just ridiculous how insanely difficult it is. A lot of the stuff leading up to it is hard, and some of it's just not fun. You know, we'll see some parts of this game that I just don't like, and I wish weren't there, and I don't know why they put them there. You know, it's nice to have more areas to explore, the multiple paths, different playable characters, and all the bosses. There's so many bosses in this game. It's almost ridiculous. And that time he knocked me right off, little bastard, little bastard. I tell ya. And of course, now that I'm approaching this guy more carefully, he's taking me to town. There we go. You gotta get the pattern down. That's all there is to it. Practice makes perfect, guys. These games, they were just built different back then. Not like today. No tutorials, no hand-holding, no hints. Just get good, bros. Get good. Back when it really meant something. It was purely based on reflex and not grinding for extra loot or XP farms or anything like that. You know, you just had to become a better gamer. A different era. Yeah, it's nice because it connects so well to the first game. It does feel so much like a natural expansion of it. Even though it's a prequel, you know, a lot of people say it follows the old time-honored video game tradition of, you know, the first sequel was kind of a black sheep and was trying to do something different. It wasn't as popular for that. And so they went back to form, but better, and made a prequel. You know, they did that for, like, Legend of Zelda did that, and, you know, Mario Brothers kind of did that. So, you know, it was a pretty popular thing to do, I think, with Nintendo things at the time, or I guess you could say an established pattern. And now I'm already doing better, even though I'm at half-life already. And there goes my success streak. But I'm still going, still keeping it up. Managed to avoid that, which is good. That I believe was extra points. I don't think we'll make it. No, we missed that big heart. I tried, guys. I tried. We need all the ammo we can get because we got another dragon, another bone dragon at the end of this. And you can see another trick where you can... Again, I tried. It was a dumb idea. Probably not going to end well. If you keep jumping, it seems to keep the dragon guessing at your height. Which makes it a little easier to avoid that fireball it hits. Whereas if you just stay standing, eventually he gets you. Like he did there. Yeah, this is one of them stages that went on for a while. But thankfully, it's a save state later, and we're right back to where we started. I am ashamed to admit that I had to save scum it, but like I said, I do think it's an unreasonably difficult game right there. They juggled me right in that spot. And it's such a long section, we got to make our way back through. I probably shouldn't have stuck to this path so much. I should have opened myself up to just taking the other one. It would have had a tougher boss, but probably would have been easier short term. I don't know. There was another Skull Knight the other way, who I would have actually liked to fight. I like the Skull Knight. He's a cool boss. But I made my choice, and I got to stand with it, right? For better or for worse, we got the double shots, and if we try not to... There we go. Spam some crosses and crouch whipped him. And without, because I did try to just get past him. This is all that was. Instead of trying to skip the fight, I just had it. We don't want that. Well, we made it disappear with Alucard. Who needs those upgraded weapons anyway? We haven't used them much. Maybe we'll get lucky, and just barely. We really did get lucky. That dragon just didn't notice us. We got stuck up there. I was just trying to make sure. Didn't want to risk the jump, you know? And again, let's see if we get lucky, and we do. I tell you, Alucard's bat mode, he uses a lot of hearts. You burn through them quickly. But being able to skip through whole sections like that, yeah, you can't beat being able to avoid enemies like that. You just gotta be careful, because if you get hit in the air, you will change back. here we go, making it up to the, seems like the highest points of this ancient temple. Obvious boss setup, but first we gotta deal with another one of these bozos. Well, we got some points out of it, so there's that. Wasn't enough to give us an extra life, but it is what it is. Here comes the boss, the Bone Dragon King. And a lot of slowdown with him. The NES version and the Western release does have a lot less slowdown in it as well. And we've already beaten his first stage here, and he starts flooding the area. Gonna try to wash us out, I guess. So yeah, you gotta watch out for that one, guys. And this is all a cutscene, by the way. It's not me waiting or something. We literally can't do nothing. You're starting to flood the place, and the water level does rise. So, on top of dealing with the fishmen constantly attacking you, collapsible blocks, obviously. We're just lucky they didn't throw Medusa heads in for good measure. And again, this is an area that I could have gotten through quicker with Alucard, but I didn't have any hearts, really. I only had the one, so I didn't want to risk trying to fly and then getting stuck, right? But I thought of just trying it with this time, and then I realized I have no hearts, so I let it go. I'd have tried, but yep, we died anyway. Some of these jumps you really have to get pixel perfect, so. And here we go again with this nonsense here. And with the water line creeping up, you got a time limit. You know, you can't spend too much time goofing around with these mermen when you got to make it before the water level gets too high. And we're out of lives as well, guys. So tick tock, tick tock. We finally got a whip upgrade there. Nice. A lot of collapsible blocks, and we've reached the end where I managed to kill myself. Don't worry though, guys. We're skipping ahead a little here to our rematch with the Bone Dragon King, which we made easy enough the first time, so we've already beaten him again. Just figured I'd show it for the sake of continuity. You don't want to see how much grief I went through. You can already see I've lost another life again. So it's always a little dodgy trying to beat these games. Look here, the water's filling up. And we finally go. It is a long cutscene. And of course I'm making another save so I don't have to go back that far again. So with any luck, we'll be able to wrap it up this time, guys. We got a lot more hearts, so can make things a little easier with good old Alucard here. We'll go ahead there, since dealing with that guy's gonna be a pain in the neck. And we still got hit by that bugger, but we managed to skip most of it. It eats up hearts fast to do that, but boy does it help. There, you just gotta be careful to avoid these buggers and not get hit like I did there. If we do fall as Alucard, at least we know we can catch ourselves by turning into a bat. So there's always that. And our rematch with the boss is coming up. Hopefully we can defeat the Bone Dragon King this time, rather than making fools of ourselves. I managed to completely miss him, but scored the last hit just by sheer luck there. Just at the edge of his backbone was all I needed. Of course, the water level was still rising, so if it's too high at that point, there's a good chance you're screwed. Like I said, this game did not need to be made harder, but they did make it harder. So the village, the town sinks, the ruins, and we get to skip ahead, skipping that first area that we would have had to do before. So we still got 2 bosses to deal with on this stretch, so this is a tougher stretch. But we're slowly working our way into the castle. We're in the undergrounds here, the catacombs or whatever it might be. There's no way I'm giving up my cross. So we're just doing a quick, you know, saving the footage, saving the game, and proceeding from there. So yeah, we're getting there, guys. We're close to finishing the game. And I keep falling off this ledge. What a pain in the neck. And up we go. This is one of the parts. This is the part of the game I really don't like. I'll be completely honest. Got these devils locked up there. You can't get to them, and you just have to wait. You have to wait for the acid to dissolve the blocks. Luckily, I've got Alucard, partly so that I can use his. We don't have any hearts, so I'm gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. But yeah, I don't like any segments like this where you just have to wait, and wait, and there's a lot of this in this stage. It's just not fun gameplay-wise. I think the game's a little too hard, and it's got too many sections where you have to just wait. You know, you do skip them all though if you go the Cypher path and take the pirate ship in. So I kind of subjected myself to it this time. But I wanted to do my dude bro run with Alucard and Grant, and you know, I have to live with the choices I make. And there I lost my sub weapon. Did I lose it before? No, I had the cross. I lost my cross to a dagger. I hate it when the game does that. I really do. This time, again, we have to wait. It's gonna be a little while. I've only got 3 hearts, but it'd be enough to cheat a little bit here. And I didn't quite make it that time. And I ran out of hearts the second time. Expert level gameplay, guys. Right, Mr. Seamus? Yeah, Mr. Seamus had a good day today. Got to hang out with Big Brother all day. It's a good day, mister. It's getting late. I should pack it in soon. But I wanted to go ahead and record this audio at least, so that much is done. And this is another tough section. We're introduced to gargoyles here. These are these new enemies. Have a kind of similar pattern. Here's the falling blocks. And again, since we don't have enough hearts to use Alucard's flight to skip ahead, we gotta wait for the blocks. But yeah, the gargoyles can be pretty tough. They go down in one hit and they're easier to hit because they're bigger. They start their pattern off slow and it gets bigger as it goes on, so they get kind of faster and harder to hit. But yeah, they almost always get you on the stairs too. Like, this is just kind of the first time they're around, and they're just kind of a mild nuisance, you know. But they'll get worse as the game goes on. They replace Medusa heads. They're like the upgraded version. Wall meats, very nice. And of course, we got that lame ass dagger. Can't reach this guy. We got another slime. Quite the combo these two make, but they can keep us pinned down here for a while. I got sick of it, just went for it. Big heart, why not? Big hearts come in handy. And so yeah, the game's definitely getting much more difficult, even without the enemies doing the extra damage they do in the Western release, which is just insane. I mean, granted, you have the extra life code you can use to help me start the game off with more lives, which definitely makes things easier in that way, but yeah, there's no way I'm getting that. Alucard probably could have gotten it, and here we got another of these bat bastards, and you know what that means. Let's see how bad this can go. Trying to use holy water on these bats, let me tell you. And of course they pinched me in there. They're already doing their number on me, and I'm already getting frustrated with them. We've got them down, you know, we're wearing them down, and for some reason that one didn't hit me. Hitboxes are weird sometimes, but they managed to get me, little buggers. So let's count how many tries we're on. Attempt number 2, using holy water for some reason. We've got more hearts though, that's good. Extra lives, it seems like I died enough times to use continues. Attempt number 3, that made the footage. Again, I probably skipped some that I died on. I managed to get them with that holy water, so that's something. But they still doing a hell of a number on me. And we kind of got lucky there. Swinging wildly like the crazy man that we are. And there's no health upgrade because it's only a sub-boss. And then this section, which is usually the worst in the game. I skipped there because I died like an idiot. It's an easy section because it's just about having the patience, you know, of figuring out when the blocks fall and standing where you're going to be safe so you don't take any hits going up, because we got a really tough section after this. So, yeah, you just have to wait. Unless you get here with a lot of hearts, and then you can kind of skip the section again with Alucard's bat form, thank God. But if you don't make it with a lot of hearts, here you go. This is your life now. I mean, the background's nice to watch, slowly rising to the, you know, to the mountain range in behind us. But, yeah, I'd much rather be engaged in the game, actually playing, than just standing around waiting while this Tetris game plays itself out. This is definitely the least, and I'm not the only person that doesn't enjoy this part. There are mods that actually skip this, and I think most fan remakes just avoid it entirely. Yeah, I don't know who thought of putting this in there. I thought it was a good idea, but they were wrong. They were wrong. This area is just, it's just boring, and it goes on for so long. There's no reason for it to take this long. You almost start worrying if you're going to run out of time. I think I have run out of time on this level before, because I think when you die it doesn't reset sometimes. Or it's because of how long it takes you to get there, too. I don't know. It's weird, and it's long and boring, and I don't like it. You know, God hope that you get here with plenty of hearts. I'm getting tired just looking at it. It's just boring to watch. Goodness. One by one they fall. You know, once you find your safe spot, you just stick to it. And that's it. And you want to be in this middle section here. There's a candle up there if you really want to risk it, but good luck. Good luck. I think it's just got a big heart. Oh, okay. It gave us, because I died, so we were using the lame whip. So I got a chain whip now. Nice. Not the fully extended version. What do they say how the upgrades go? It goes from the leather whip or the vampire killer to the flail to the Morning Star, is I think the name of the fully upgraded version, where it's got better reach. Because you upgrade the damage first and then you upgrade the reach. A little risky, but I went for it. And now I've got an axe, guys. And we're done through that section. I'm never doing that again. You guys can see it for yourselves. I'm making the save. We're save scumming it from here on through the rest of this area, because I'm not doing that again. It's not happening. The spiders again, they're from Simon's Quest. Nice to see them come back. Spiders that shoot their babies at you. Which, when you think about it, is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy way to attack your enemies, to shoot your children at it. Of course, we need more annoying enemies, so let's add the crows. Which are as annoying as ever. And an annoying section where we're low on health. And we'll go ahead and just wait for the platform. We probably could have skipped it with Alucard, but it's a simple area. And we'll see what's down here. I can't remember off the top of my head either. One up, which, hey, I'll take it. I was out alive, so this will make our life a little easier. And this is a checkpoint, so if we die from here, at least we got this to mark our progress. Again, this is another section that's super easy if you can skip it. You know, we got 11 hearts, so we might as well go ahead and use them. And this area can be tricky. We've seen these platforms that rotates when you step on them. I'm going to try and see if I can get lucky. Very tricky to avoid the Medusas, which in the end I couldn't. And I made a new save here, so I made sure that I could just reload it instead of having to go to backtrack, because I didn't want to have to do any of that stuff again. You know, once is enough. So the trick here is you definitely have to just avoid the Medusa heads, because you can't jump to avoid them. So you want to walk. If you can't kill them with the whip, try to walk back and forth to do what you need to do to get by them. Because if you try jumping on those platforms, they're going to spin and you're going to die, and it's gonna suck, guys. It's gonna suck. But we made it to another checkpoint. Save scumming from here. This is such a long area. And to be so long and to have such a boring section where you have to sit. When you lose your lives and you use a continue, you have to go through that waiting section again. Yep, where you stand there and wait for the bricks to go by. You have to do that again and again and again every time you run out of lives because you only get the 2. 3 lives are it, boys. That's all you get for this whole section. So, yeah. Good luck with that. And here we got a scrolling section. As you can imagine, NES game, scrolling section means if you touch the bottom, you die. Also, as you saw there, enemies don't spawn in right away at the top, so you have to be careful. Don't jump up to those platforms before you know that they're clear. And also, of course, as you can see, we've got collapsing blocks, we've got gargoyles, which are worse than Medusas, and yeah, this section is just not fun. And at this point, I'm just getting mad trying to muscle my way through, which hasn't worked too well. Dang bastard got me. It took a few tries to get through there. This, I believe, is the last one that did end up being successful. I could be mistaken. Again, if you get a lot of hearts, you can go through this as Alucard, but you would need a lot of them. Because, and you'd still have to worry about the gargoyles. You know, they're bouncing up and down like nuts. And, yeah. This is the just a clue as to what the rest of the game's going to be like. It is a bit much, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the biggest fan. At this point on, the game gets really frustrating. And, yeah, if I knew where I was going and what I was doing, and, you know, got good, it wouldn't be so bad, but... Third try. Third try is the charm, right? Like I said, we're save scumming it because I am not going through that whole section again. It was ridiculous. Eventually, I'll get good enough I can get through this game without relying on save scumming. That's a good benchmark for me to warm up to. I had the same thing with the original game. You know, I had save scum it the first time I beat it. I got really lucky there. Unfortunately, that gargoyle got me, the bastard. Still haven't learned my lesson from here. Trying to rush my way up, knowing that there's an enemy up there. But we got knocked down to what was actually where I should have been in the first place, because the steps are slightly safer. And we're back to jumping like a maniac, and I'll tell you this right now. I went up the wrong side the first time. This is the wrong side. You have mummies that will spawn infinitely, and then the boss. This is, as you can see, there's 3 caskets, and this little ghost is going to possess each one. If we took one of the other routes, we would have seen a similar one with 2 caskets, and the same bosses would have popped out in the beginning. We have to fight the mummies, you know, a boss from the original game. Boss mummies are easier in the Japanese version. You can see their little bandages that shoot out go straight. If we were playing the US version or the English version, those bandages swing up and down, like they do with the ones that spawn in the map, like the little ones here, those little mummies. So you want to go this way because it's got a wall meat. And then I'm saving because, yeah, again, I got no lives, so I'm not going through all that again. It's just not going to happen. This Axe Knight's a pain in the neck, but you just have to be careful and try to aim your shots for when you see him ducking. You have to be quick enough. So don't just mash the attack button like I do. You know, I'm an idiot. I took too many hits there. I said, no, I'm not fighting 3 bosses like that. We're save scummers now. Let's live up to our title and just take it to that guy. So yeah, first we got to beat the boss mummies. And you can see that area off to the right where there's an upper ledge with nothing underneath it. In the American version, the ground continues under that. And what that means is the bosses can walk over there. Where it is now, it's a safe spot because the boss can't walk under it, so he can't come in contact with it. But if we were playing the US version, the floor continues and the bosses will hit you when you are perched up there. So it is not a safe spot in the US version. But in the Japanese version, you got safe spots on each side. The other side's safe, and now we got a Cyclops to hit. We didn't get Cypher, so we didn't have the first Cyclops fight. You have to hit these guys in the eye. They have giant hammers that they will hit you with. And, yeah. You have to hit them in the head, sort of like Dracula. You gotta hit him in the head. You're really aiming for the big eye, of course. The Cyclops boss fight in the anime was pretty cool. I'll give them to that. Cyclops was an awesome fight. They had awesome fights in the first 2 seasons of that show. It was the second and the third and fourth season where they kind of screwed up there. And this is the third boss, who's the unique one for this encounter. The Devil. I believe he's just listed as a demon. Some places I think call him Belial. Or Goat Demon. In some places he's called like the Super Gargoyle. No, but yeah, he's got a pattern. He jumps 3 times, and then he shoots his fireballs. So, sort of like an alternate version of Dracula's second form from the original game. As long as you time it right, and you know the third jump's going to be a little longer, it's pretty easy to avoid him, and just keep swinging. And don't get hit by those fireballs. Obviously, if you had holy water, triple shot, you pretty much one-shot the guy. Also, a lot of people, you do face him in the Cypher route. You face him in every route. You can't get to the end of the game without some variation of this battle. And but if you've got Cypher, you can spam the lightning balls, and they really do a number. Now, we finally made it to the castle. And once again, we skipped that first segment. If we came in through Cypher, we'd be going through that area. But instead, and that's the beginning area. And you did get Vampire Killer there, but unfortunately I lost the footage of that. So, luckily Vampire Player is still playing, so... this is also a very familiar area if you played Rondo of Blood. I've got the double shot on the holy water, so I'm going to keep that. It's not really necessary though. The holy water does help. And you got this section with the collapsing bridges. Of course, you got to be careful because it's eventually going to catch up to you. You want to jump over that guy. I think that's just the easiest way to do it. But of course, I destroyed one too many candles, and now I've got a knife instead of my double shot holy water. But here's the boss. You might even recognize the environment a bit because it's Death. Death likes his curtains. He likes his theatrical presentation. I died pretty quick there. I died against this guy a lot. Beating him is really a matter of 1, staying on the move so that you can avoid these sickles, and 2, knowing where he's going to go. If you know where he's going to go, you can be out of the way. So he killed me a lot of times. Then he takes his second form. First time, Death has a transformation, and again, it's a matter of knowing he's going to keep just kind of cycling to the right and occasionally shooting a scythe at you. If you know where he's going to be, it's pretty easy to deal with him. And the scythes do just keep coming for you. But yeah, I died quite a few times to him, and I edited them out because it gets dull after a while watching me fail miserably. But he's a very difficult boss until you get the pattern. Once you get the pattern, you're good. You know, it looked easy, but that's because I edited out all the failures. And of course we lost some, unfortunately, footage of the entrance, which is, again, almost lifted directly from the original. Always fun to go through that classic Castlevania entrance hall, you know, very nostalgic. And but yeah, now we are on the next section here, working our way to the upper levels of the castle. And we're finally in Castlevania, guys. All this time we've been fighting. There is I believe a large heart up there. We could have gotten his Alucard. And this is also again a callback to the first game, the section where they had the eagles dropping the flea men, only now it's harpies dropping devils. We got an extra life there, which is nice. But you want to deal with these guys the same way you dealt with the flea men, which is one at a time. And yeah, just take them out, guys. Unfortunately, it always gets hectic when you start getting distracted or having a hard time. I eventually just kind of gave up and ran past him. Which worked out this time. It usually doesn't, but... The little devil bastards. And then you got this section. Those are hard to get. I probably could have gotten them as Alucard, maybe. I don't remember if I had Alucard's attack upgraded or not. You know, it would have been hard to... I guess you could have flown up with a bat, too. And again, you got these ones which you can stand on, which is how you get these candles up here. Of course, we're not going to get the axe because we don't need it. But we'll take the big heart. The timing is critical here. And we'll just walk under that one. Interesting architecture here. Really not worth going back for a little heart. Once you know what's in the candles, you know which ones are worth whipping and which ones aren't. Now this is a tricky section. And again, no matter which playthrough you're doing, you guys saw the skip. There were some deaths here. Not ashamed to admit. It's an area where if you keep going, you can kind of... I really got lucky there with the jumps. But if you keep just going forward, sometimes you can avoid a lot of this. And there is enough space between these two that you can stand and not get hurt. But I did get hurt, so I just used the iframe to move forward. Now we got a checkpoint here. We got some lives because I probably died a bunch of times. And now we just got to worry about this Axeman. It would be a lot easier to deal with him if I could use weapons on the stairs, but it is what it is. And I just wanted to make sure there's nothing up there. Like I said, I don't remember where all the breakable walls are, guys. I don't remember all the secrets of these games. I know a lot of them, but not all of them. Someday I'll get better at it. We got some regular spear soldiers here. Again, throwbacks to the original. A lot of familiar faces now. We're going to see axe knights and these spear guards. All familiar faces and familiar places. Familiar faces, familiar spaces. This is another vertical scrolling section, which is harder than the last one, so if you had fun with the last one, get ready for this one. Actually, I don't think it's as bad. You just have to... Again, any of these vertical spaces you have to approach with caution. And this one you gotta watch out for those balls. I guess you can destroy those balls, I've heard, if you hit them a lot of times. But unless you got Sypha in there, Sypha can use her ice spell to freeze them and then one-shot them. And like an idiot, I jumped right into that sword attack. I should have known it was coming. You know me, guys. I always forget. I get good, and then I forget, and then it's back to basics. Yes, Mr. Seamus, he's a good boy. He's the best boy. Yes, sir, such a good boy. In the scrolling section. Because you just gotta be patient. I wasn't patient before. And this guy, you gotta be tricky with those sword skeletons. They're a little tougher, guys. They're a little tougher. And I made the mistake of jumping up there before I was really timed. So I had to take the hit. Just had to. And I got lucky there that he didn't hit me before I went up. And again, got another of these fuzz balls here. Got no choice but to wait for it. Bloody skeleton got me. Bloody bastard. And there will be more Suikoden on the channel eventually as well, guys. You know I like my Konami. More Suikoden, more Metal Gear. Just a matter of time. This section here is safe, actually. We're up to the part where it'll stop scrolling, so... Unfortunately, it is a difficult section. Thought maybe I could jump up there. I cannot. These concentric fuzzballs are going to be the death of me. They very nearly were. You can see why you have to save scum certain parts of this game, because holy hell. We got some wall meat, so that helped. Full pot roast gave us a little something, and I'm going to be save scumming from here, because again, if you die here, you got to start all the way back at the beginning again. You have to go through that whole scrolling section. And I died like a numbnut. Yeah, this is one of the tougher sections. It's actually easier if you've got enough hearts that you can fly up as Alucard, but you do have to be careful to avoid the hazards. There's crows in addition to the fishmen swimming in the water. You can see them coming, and you can hit them without crouching, so that's good with Trevor. But again, everything gangs up on you at the end, so you gotta be careful. And the water current, of course, is fighting you as well. You have to deal with that. It's just a lot to deal with, guys. And it is a tough section at the end of an already tough section. This is just a tough game. It's that damn hard. It's just too much. And I lost my cross to get a dagger, which is unfortunate. In this section, I'd have rather skipped it. I probably could have as Alucard. I was lucky enough I wound up with 2 of those, 3 of them following me, so I didn't have to. I still got hit, of course. And instead of Walmine, I got a triple shot, which I was like, oh, great. So we're definitely going to die here. This is the doppelganger fight, which is the toughest boss in the game, by far. Died a lot here. But there is a pattern. If you figure out the pattern, you can do it. You kind of want to make them jump. That's the best time. You can also cheese them by transforming. Every time you change characters, the doppelganger will change, and that will stop them for a few frames. And you can get in a cheap hit. It takes forever to beat them that way. It takes a lot of hits to take out the doppelganger. But that will work. But also you can do this. Just wait for him to jump, and you can get 2 hits in if you're good. You can also do this. Sometimes they'll stay up there, and if you time it just right, you got to be careful. Because Trevor's attack is fast even for the doppelganger. But I kind of got lucky that he got stuck there. And, yeah, I got the shots in. Took a lot of tries, guys. I died a lot. I died a lot in that fight. That's usually the breaking part for me in this game when I get to the doppelganger. Because he just kind of sucks the fun out of it. But we'd see future doppelgangers in future games as well. So another tradition started. And of course, we got the familiar final area. The bridge first, then the tower. Pretty much the OG clock tower, as it were. No giant bats here, just crows. And of course we've got some vertical segments, because it wouldn't be Dracula's curse without some challenging vertical segments where we can get stuck on the stairs. More of the cool clouds in the background. We've got another clockwork area. And of course, again, Japanese version, lots of frame rate issues. It would play smoother on an NES, or if you're playing the Western version. Again, the bottom of the screen will kill you, even if there's something technically down there. If you can't see it, it's death. It's an old school, cheesy way to die, but... And of course, when you get to the bottom, you have to worry about these bricks going away on you. But we made it. Not too shabby, guys. Now, this is a tough section. You got 2 of these bone pillars here. And perhaps most importantly, as you'll see, well, you won't see, but there's these bricks collapse on you. Luckily, we got enough hearts. We'll just sail over it as Alucard. Thank God for Alucard. And we'll use the iframes to go ahead and reach this checkpoint. At least we made it to the checkpoint. We got our extra lives. We're doing pretty good, guys. We're doing pretty good. And of course, the spiders are back because fuck them spiders. We beat the dead Belmonts. And here is what they call the Last Supper. It's the last health up item you can find in the game. We've got a Blood Belmont. So he'll be back. And of course, the spider came at the exact right time to hit us on the stairs. I got lucky there dodging that spider, but I wanted to make sure there was nothing in the wall. There wasn't. I wasted time. More swinging pendulums, because they were so fun the first time. Why not have some more? But hey, at least they're easy, right? No major challenge here. Unless, of course, something like a bat were to fly on the screen. I actually got lucky here. You should just walk off that middle pillar, by the way. I jumped like an idiot, but I got lucky I landed on there. You do have some control over Trevor's jump. Very little. Here we're at the final area, which I will make a save point at. And, because we've only got so many lives. Now, when you lose a life, you will start at the bottom of the stairs. When you run out of continues, obviously, you start at the beginning of the area, which is, yeah, it's not a fun area. It's not the worst area, I think. Here we got first phase Dracula. He's gonna create these fire pillars, which are hard to avoid, and you gotta hit him in the head. I'm just gonna show all my deaths here because it was a tough fight. This was at the end of a long night playing Castlevania in the dark, trying not to make too much noise, with the dog sleeping in my lap, and dying a lot to Dracula here. Because sometimes he does stuff like that, where you're just really screwed. Obviously, you can kind of kite his attacks a little bit, and then he does something like that, which is really dickish. So it's partly luck-based, and then you're screwed there, but luckily he was dead. Takes this form, which is weird. I'm still not sure what the explanation of the 5 heads and the corrupt brain are supposed to be. This is also, again, at the time, chronologically, the first battle between Belmont and Dracula. So, you know, a lot of people speculate Dracula might not have even really been a vampire. He might have just been a sorcerer. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know what the story behind these different forms are. They would never be seen again and never explained. So, if you manage to beat that one, he takes his final form. Which is, again, much harder if you're playing on the Western version. But he's still pretty challenging. You have to ride these platforms if you're playing as Trevor. Scythe is obviously the one you want to get here with the lightning balls. Even if you get there with Grant and he's got the axe, he does pretty good with that final stage. But Trevor has a hard time with it, at least with me. Because you only get the cross sub-weapon in this area. You can't get any other sub-weapons, so unless you start the stage over, which is, yeah, it's a nightmare, that stage. This thing's not supposed to go all the way to the side like that, but I didn't think it was anyway. Apparently it does. Yeah, there was a lot of unfortunate dying, particularly to this stage. This form of Dracula, this crazy ass, bloody tears, 5 faces of doom, whatever the explanation is. I gotta look up there's gotta be some kind of mythology reference or something to this, right? Something. I mean, I know, of course, Dracula draws his power partly from the castle. The castle is a creature of chaos, like a chaos entity. You know, basically a bit of a Lovecraftian cosmic horror kind of deal. So it makes sense in that regard, but that's probably just the explanation to go with, right? Sometimes the explanation is it's not supposed to make sense. Oof. I don't like that the backsplash of the drops gets you, you know? Should be enough that they hit the floor, right? Shouldn't have to worry about more. And we can't even hit the parts we need to hit because the bastard won't get low enough. And somehow none of that hit me. I don't know how that happened. But crouching in the corner like a baby works, so I'll take it. So of course I get hit on the rebound. And just in time, managed to defeat it again. And yeah, I can never seem to time it right. He is again easier in this version because he can only aim those lasers at certain angles. He can't point them upward at you. In the US version, he's much better with those lasers and can hit you even when you're above them. So, a difficult boss to begin with that, of course, the importers decide to make even more unreasonably difficult. And of course, you also have to be careful because the moving platforms leave gaps under them. If you fall into that gap, you are dead. And yeah, it took me forever, and I kept trying and trying and trying. And yeah, it's a challenging boss, even this easier version of it. So, of course, if you get here with Sypha and her lightning bolt, you're good. You're probably gonna have to save scum to do it, and I have done it, save scumming a lot. At that point, I finally just gave up. And this is my last run of it, guys, where I finally managed to do it. I came up with a new idea. I said, you know what? It's too hard to hit that final form with Trevor. So let's see if Alucard fares better. So I did spend some time grinding Alucard. Made sure that he got, by grinding I mean going up and down the stairs to whip the candles and get the hearts. So I made sure Alucard has his full fireball upgrade. And so he'd be ready to take on his father. Bastard was just out of range, and then he put me in a pincher there. It wasn't fun. Here comes that second form. I also figured Alucard's better for this because we struggled with Trevor because he can't hit all the faces. But that shotgun spread, while it doesn't do a lot of damage, it's pretty much a guaranteed hit for Alucard. You know, he almost can be anywhere he wants to be, and is still going to have an easier time hitting something than Trevor does with the cross. And I'm actually doing really well here with Alucard. Figures my favorite character comes through in the pinch, right? Do that shotgun fireball blast. And I've done well at dodging all the bloody tears as well, so. Of course, he still managed to get me, and he does so much damage, even without the damage boost that they put on the Western version. And it took a while. It took a while to take this guy down, but we did it. And now the final form once again, but so much easier to hit him with Alucard. It doesn't do much damage, of course, but when you can keep hitting like this, it almost doesn't matter, you know? And of course, dodging the incoming lasers as well. It's also very important. And he managed to nick us there, but we're still hanging in there. And now we got the perfect angle to just pound away at him. You should say chip away, because we're not doing much with that shotgun blast. I mean, we're doing better than nothing. And he's just about at it. And there he goes. Just don't fall in the hole after you beat him, guys, because you will die and that'll be the end of it. And you'll have to do it again. Alucard defeats his father. Good work, buddy. And we'll get to play as Alucard again in Symphony of the Night, which I will play down the road. So we can look forward to that. I'm looking forward. I always love playing Symphony of the Night. It's just it's a classic game. Always good to fall back on. And of course we get the ending, Alucard and Trevor. You can see just how tall Alucard is there, watching the castle fall and the ruins at dawn. And then we get the text that we can't read because it's Japanese, but I'm sure it says something along the lines of Alucard decides to go into isolation or something like that, because that's what he does. He goes to sleep, and he doesn't wake up for about 400 years when Dracula's castle returns and there's no Belmont around to fight it. So who would stop it but Alucard? And of course, Alucard gets a vastly different redesign, as did Dracula by then. But yeah, that marks the end of Legend of the Demon Castle. I believe that's what they call the Japanese version. I'll double check it real quick. Yep, Legend of Demon Castle. Not to be confused with Legend of Dracula, which was the Japanese name for Castlevania the Adventure. So, you know, keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. A very difficult game. I had to save Scum to get through it this time, of course. But there it is, Legend of the Demon Castle. So very, very challenging, a little too tough, in my opinion, but I am getting better at it. I'm looking forward to get better, and I do hopefully plan on streaming more of it in the future. For you guys, I'll be streaming the more difficult modes. I want to beat Game B on the US version, guys. That's the objective, to get that good, and to do a solo run of it, too. So no extra characters, no extra jumping for Grant, no glass cannon with Sypha. That's going to be down the road. But I will do a Sypha run of the US version as well at some point, so you guys can see that. And that does it for Castlevania 3. Next up, it'll be, we get the English credits, but they didn't give us the English ending for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe the credits are always in English. But, yeah, next Castlevania up is Castlevania 6, which again, I've already got the footage, so I just gotta provide the commentary for it. A big upgrade in a lot of ways, but still very difficult. But it'll be back to just Simon, and it's back to being linear, so. And here's Grim, following our adventure. Thanks for playing. We'll see you guys next time. This is Grim signing off, saying, stay salty.